Okay. I think we have a general majority here, so I'm going to officially welcome everybody. Thank you to everyone for coming, and thank you especially to our panelists. Like I was saying before, but not everyone was here yet. I'm very excited as I think we have a nice mix of different congregations that at least started in the Western Sephardi style in the Spanish Portuguese. Some of them stayed, some of them moved a little bit, some of them are new. Not some of them, there's only 3. But the idea is they each have their own character, each of these 3, and we hope to visit some more as time goes on. We did last year as well. So again, thank you all for coming. A little bit of logistics for all those who are here. If any of you didn't yet put where you're from, please do throw it into the chat. As well, if you have questions while anybody's speaking, put it into the Q&A, and if it's an urgent question, we'll get to it right away. If not, we'll get to it at the end. We would like to make sure that everybody has their chance to speak, and then we'll open up microphones and cameras for those who want at the end. So it's nicer to ask in person. So first of all, the idea of the Western Sephardi heritage, I think you'll see it in each of these, is the physical structure of the synagogue, very much based on the Synagogue in Amsterdam and the concept behind it. And I think each of these synagogues have definitely a relation to it. St. Thomas is the second oldest one in the Americas, and I'm not sure if it's the newest Western Sephardi, but I believe Dominican Republic and Indonesia have to at least be one of the newest ones around the world that are in the Spanish Portuguese tradition. So I think it's going to be an interesting talk today. So I would like to ask, when the other speakers are speaking, if you can just put your cameras off and your microphones off. We're going to start in Indonesia, as per Chacham Elazar's suggestion that we go by longitudinal lines, sorry. And so we're going to start with Yaakov Baruch, who I just saw on Facebook today is studying for his Nicha online. So batzlacha to you in that. We're excited for that. And he was born in Jakarta. His grandmother's family came from the Netherlands. And in 2004, Mr. Baruch opened a synagogue for the Jews of the Netherlands who remained in Indonesia. So he prepared for us a very nice tour of the community there now. I would like to ask if you could just give a little bit of background first of who the community is and who you are, and then I'll go to the video. Is that okay?
Okay. Shalom. I came from Indonesian mixed with Dutch Jewish backgrounds, and that's the reason I built this synagogue to collecting all the you can say the rest of the Dutch Jewish descendants who still live in Indonesia. And since 50 years ago, we don't have really a synagogue after the independence of Indonesia. So I start everything almost 20 years ago. I start to go one by one, door to visit all the Dutch Jewish and also Iraqi Jewish descendants. And Baruch Hashem, we can have a synagogue from 2004. And in 2019, the synagogue was inaugurated by the mayor in the town. And also we changed the model inside to become a similar like a Portuguese synagogue in Amsterdam. And then we start to study more about the Nusach and we come closer to our roots, Spanish and Portuguese. And our community, when I start, is mostly Dutch Jewish descendant, and now we have many Indonesian local who study the conversion and they want to become Jewish. And now we try to be recognized by the government, so Judaism can be part of the 6 big religion in the country. That's our mission is. And Baruch Hashem, we have a few sponsors, also from Netherlands and others from Indonesia who help. We just opened a new kosher mikveh, And we have a plan to make a house or guest room for visiting Rabbi or visiting Hassan in the future, hopefully after this pandemic. And then we can study more about the Hassanut from our Western Sephardic tradition. And so our community can learn more about our roots. Thank you very much.
I'm going to switch it over now to the tour of the community. Give me a moment, sorry. And thank you for this wonderful video. You do see it, right? Jakob, just do me a thumbs up if you see the video. Okay.
Welcome to the Spanish and Portuguese Synagogue, Kahal Kadosh Shara Shamai. This synagogue was built by a Dutch Jew named Leo van Begen. He was founded this building in 1997 and converted to the synagogue in 2003. The synagogue was donated by a family thunderstone from Netherlands and given to the Jewish community of Indonesia. From that time, the synagogue became the Orthodox Jewish synagogue, belongs to the Sephardic community. For the Sidurim and Maksorim, we have books from the Portuguese synagogue in Amsterdam. This is the Sidur that we use in our service, both weekdays and Shabbat, and also for the Yom Tov. This is the Esrat Nasim, or the women's section. This is the Mehitza to separate the women's section and the men's section inside the synagogue. This is the Teba, or a bima for the Ashkenazi. This is the place when the Hassan or the Rabbi reading the Torah or leading the service. This model from the Teba follow the one in the Portuguese synagogue in Amsterdam. The complete with the 4 candle holder that's very famous, as you can see. As you can see, the model of the Hechal or Aron HaKodesh in the Ashkenazi synagogue is also same like what they have in Portuguese synagogue in Amsterdam. Want to see what is inside? Let's check it. The beauty of the Sefer Torah. This Sefer Torah, it was given by Indonesian Dutch Jew around 2012 from family Ben Judah. Come closer, let's see what they have inside. Even our synagogue was founded in 2003 and we start to make it 2004. But as you can see, we have a very antique Dutch chandelier. This is from the colonial time. We have 2 big chandelier, and this is same exactly like the model in the Portuguese synagogue in Amsterdam. Next to the synagogue, we have a small building special for the community. It's called a place for mikvah. As you know, every Jew, we do the mikvah before the Shabbat or the holidays, and for the women after they have the period. Let's check inside. Welcome in our mikvah. Can you believe it? This mikvah just finished a week ago. We started to build it before Pesach, and it just finished exactly a week ago. So now we have a new kosher mikvah, the only kosher mikvah in whole country.
Thank you so much for that. I'm sure there was, first of all, Yasher Koach on the Chazaku Baruch on the mikvah. I've been watching it unfold on Facebook, so I really appreciate as it's been coming around. Is there anything else you want to add before we go to the next? And then we'll leave the questions, I think, for the end, if that's okay.
I think we can just go straight to the question and answer. So we can have more time to give chance for the question.
Okay. So, oh, wait, there's one question here now. Let me just see if we, what city is the synagogue located in? That you can answer quickly.
The synagogue is located in Tondano, Minahasa, in the North Celebes or North Sulawesi, Indonesia.
Okay, and since there are some quick questions, how many members does the synagogue have?
Now we have about 35 members.
And are they all Jewish right now, or some are converting?
Some is converting, some is converting, some still in the class of converting. And we have also have a few Sarah Israel who study back to our roots as well. Like they came from father's side or from grandfather's side.
Okay, do you mind typing into the chat just the name of the city? Because it was hard to, it's not in English, so.
Yes, yes.
And since it was a little short, we can allow you, if you don't mind, to kind of mention what happened with the government and what is happening with the government. I know you glossed over it a little bit, you mentioned it, but if you could just explain a little more how they're treating you.
Baruch Hashem, I live in the island that have the most Christian majority, so they protect us. They don't have problem with the Jewish people. They like to raise Israel flag in my area. So they call it themselves, they are pro-Israel, pro-Zionist. And also the government, most of our government make a pilgrimage to Israel every year. So I'm glad that 2 years ago they make the inauguration. They come and they do the Hanukkah together with us. It's already second times we have the mayor who come and celebrate Hanukkah with us. So we don't have any problem with the local government. And Baruch Hashem, last week I met the minister from the religious affairs that I spoke to invite him. So we try to reach the more highly government official. And Besat Hashem, some days we can invite president to come to visit our synagogue. Yeah.
But it's still not a recognized religion, Judaism.
It's recognized, but it's very macro minority. So we cannot put in the ID card. And yeah, we must choose one from the 6 religion in Indonesia. So the Jews, sometimes they put Christian or Islam or whatever, Buddhist or Hindu in the ID card, because we cannot put it Judaism. That's it's another issue, but yeah, that's how we feel right now as Indonesian Jew. And then we start to deal with the government to change it, the policy. So we hope that we can put Judaism in the future.
Okay. And we're just going to ask a few more questions.
Yes.
Is Tondano Minasa, I hope I said that right, is that the original place where the Dutch lived, the Dutch Jews?
Yes, most Dutch was live in Minahasa because in the colonial time they call it the Minahasa is a 12 province of the Netherlands, because at the time they only have 11 province, if I'm not wrong. And also I want to explain to Mr. Albert that we have many Jewish visitors, include Israeli and American Jew who came, and I put filling to them, and we share, we spend Shabbat together, or like Rosh Hashanah or Kippur. And I'm glad that we still have Jewish visitors. So sometimes they bring the matzah or the kosher wine before the Pesach. It's very helpful, of course, because we don't have any kosher product in Indonesia. Yeah, only sometimes it's import a few kinds of snack. But we don't have kosher meat, so we do our own shehita for ourselves. If you want to kosher meat, you need to import from Australia or from Singapore.
Is that one of the things you're learning to do shechita?
Yeah, that's why Bezrat Hashem, I'm studying now, so I can do the as a shohet and as a mohel, Bezrat Hashem, not only as a Hassan or as a rabbi, because we need more any Jewish activity to make our Jewish things or Judaism live and exist in this country.
Okay. I'm just going to ask one more and then we'll save the rest for later, because Shep asked, are there other Jewish communities in Indonesia? Because he thought he heard there were Jews in West Papua. I can't pronounce that.
In this chance, I need to explain that we have a Jewish community from the colonial time that now there's only have the older Jew that I was working with them from 20 years ago. Actually, it was a community from Surabaya Synagogue, or from the Iraqi backgrounds. And now we have like euphoria in the country that I saw it also happen in Southeast America, that many locals want to convert to Judaism, and many people also claim as a Jew. So now you can see in Indonesia, there's a few groups call themselves a Jewish community, Jewish people, but they don't have any paper to prove about that. And some do the giur and some didn't do anything. So we have also problem with that, because sometimes they take advantage to take money or from Christian or from other people who say that you need to bless the Jews, blah, blah, blah. And that's what we face it right now. That's why I'm studying more, so I can work with the government that which one is really the Jewish community and which one is only people who want to take something from the non-Jews. So when you hear about there is Jews like in Papua or in other place, that I know exactly who is the real Jew, or who is the real Jewish descendant that came from Dutch or Iraqi backgrounds, or which one only make a hoax statement. Yeah.
Thank you. We're going to leave the other questions for later with your permission, because we want to make sure to go around the world. So thank you very much. And actually literally around the world, because there's a 12-hour time difference, we realized. And then we're going to go to one of the oldest communities, the second oldest community in the synagogue in the Americas. As hopefully most of you know, the Spanish and Portuguese did come to the down south first, but the Caribbean was one of the first stops for the Spanish Portuguese Jews and for Jews in general in the New World. And so Rabbi Feshbach actually is coming from a different background, and it has a very different feel than what we have in the other synagogue, as it's no longer necessarily a Spanish Portuguese synagogue, but has this rich heritage and still a community around the world that still loves to be there. And we're going to find out why it's paradise, because I'm waiting to see that. So they didn't come to hear me. Over to you, Rabbi Feshbach.
Welcome to everybody. It is really wonderful to be here, and thank you to the American Sephardi Federation for organizing this. I'm going to share my screen and the presentation here today. So I see a number of you who I know, and I'm delighted. I was delighted to see a member of my former congregation who is an overseas member with us and who grew up in Indonesia. So to a shout out to you, Simon. The only thing you have to do now is form a connection with the Dominican Republic community, and you'll have all three of us down. So I am, one second. Welcome to the Hebrew congregation of St. Thomas, and welcome to Paradise, or what's a nice Jewish community doing in a place like this? I have to confess that this picture is actually of St. John, our sister island, very close to us here, not St. Thomas itself, but there are others of St. Thomas that are very similar, and there are 3 or 4 islands that make up the United States Virgin Islands. But how did this Jewish community come to be here? There are 2 books which you can read the history of the Jewish community of the Virgin Islands. One is by Isidore Paiwansky, a relative of one of our governors here, and the other is Through the Sands of Time, a history of the Jewish community in St. Thomas by the scholar Judah Cohen. Jews first settled in the Virgin Islands in 1655 when it was ruled by Denmark. St. Croix often speaks about the island to the south of us, 7 flags, and I was trying to figure out what the 7 countries that ruled over it were, and I had forgotten for a little while, with apologies to Malta. I had forgotten about the 14 years when Malta ruled over St. Croix. These were mainly traders in sugarcane, rum, and molasses. One of the first Jews in the Virgin Islands was Gabriel Milan, and he was appointed the governor, one of the 3 Jews who have served as governor here. In 1685, Jews and Catholics were granted freedom of religion. 2 centuries later, in 1850, the island's Jewish population hit its peak. I'm not sure I agree with this, that it numbered 400 there, making up half of the white community. So it certainly hit its peak in terms of percentage of the population. But my own guess is, while we have fewer than 100 affiliated families with our community, that there are probably around 500 Jews on the island now, but of course many more with visitors. What is the first act of a Jewish community when Jews go there? It could be a mikveh, and it was wonderful to see the beautiful new mikveh in Indonesia. It could be a school, or one of the others is a cemetery. The Savan Cemetery opened in 1750. There are gravestones in 7 different languages there. Although those interested in historical preservation, we do need to do a project to make the writing on these headstones more visible. That cemetery is largely full by the 1830s. So the cemetery that we refer to as the new cemetery is from the 1830s. This is in the Altona area of St. Thomas. We were just there for a funeral, unfortunately, but this picture it's now, the website I took this from said the picture was from around the year 1900. I'm a little skeptical. I think the color is quite good for a picture taken in 1900, but I'm not certain. How did the Jews grow, though, to a more substantial community and a fully functioning one? To begin that story, we need to start, and to tell the story of our synagogue, we need to mention 12 different countries. We begin, though, with the British invasion of St. Eustatius in February 1781. There was a small Jewish community, Sephardic Jews, living on St. Eustatius in the 1700s. And the British suspected them, correctly as it turned out, the Jews in particular, of smuggling arms to the American rebels. Now, I've known this for some time. What I really realized only a few months ago was that not only was that suspicion correct, but that was an essential conduit of weapons. The Jewish community in St. Eustatius was functionally the lifeline to the American rebels, and it is not clear that the American Revolution would have succeeded without them. So from a military point of view alone, from their own self-interest, the British invasion was justified. Their treatment of the Jewish population afterwards and their expulsion of the Jews of St. Eustatius, it could be debated in other terms, but many of the Jews from there then came to St. Thomas. Before we do that, I have a quick historical parallel. If we had more time, we could talk about the lifeline that Czech arms provided in 1947 and 1948 to the new state of Israel, but that is a tangent which I will often go on. The story, however, of our synagogue as a building and the two things that are unique about our congregation, well, not unique, but special, begins here. Our synagogue is, as you heard, the oldest synagogue building in continuous use under the US flag. We're the second oldest such synagogue building in continuous use in the Western Hemisphere. And we are one of only 5 synagogues in the world with sand on the floor. After the hurricanes, I have been adding the word intentionally or deliberately with sand on the floor, because there are places that have that unintentionally. But for us, the sand tells a story, and the sand floor story is directly related to our Sephardic roots. The story begins in 1492. Columbus sailed the ocean blue, and Spain kicked out the Jews. Although actually what happened was the crown gave them a choice. Either they could leave penniless, or they could convert to Catholicism and keep everything. Now, I strongly suspect, based on the timing and the wording, that this was as much an economic as it was a spiritual act of coercion. 1492 was the year of the reconquest of Spain, the unification under Christian rule, and the crown was broke. So they expected this to yield a tremendous amount of money. However, what they didn't expect to happen was that many Jews, partially based on the fact that this had worked before, over the past century, there had been fanatical regimes, and some Jewish families converted either to Christianity or Islam and then reverted. Some of them moved and then reverted. Maimonides' family, in fact, had converted to Islam and then unconverted, as it were, or returned to Judaism. And so many chose to remain, keep their possessions, convert, and practice Judaism in secret. Since the intent of the crown then was not met, something happened that nobody expected. And as you can see from this clip from Monty Python, nobody expects the Spanish Inquisition. Whether it was about replenishing the treasury or partially in fact about religious purity, when the money grab failed, the crown and the church enforced the state religion and began and made practicing Judaism in secret a capital crime. This began the persecution of the new Christians. And as a result of the danger, so according to legend, those practicing Judaism in secret placed sand on the floor of the places where they came together to pray, muffling the sound of their footsteps so they would not be heard or caught. This picture actually is from the sand on the floor of the synagogue in Curacao. We now come to the history of our particular congregation. The congregation was founded in 1796. The first synagogue building on the island was constructed in 1803. It was lost in a fire the following year. The partially rebuilt synagogue burned down again in 1806. Our current property was purchased in 1813. The original building on the site was used for 10 years and then expanded as the Jewish population was growing on the same spot on what is called Synagogue Hill. And then came the fire of 1831, which took out 800 buildings in downtown Charlotte, Amalia. Now you can read about this fire in the, quite good historical novel about this period of time. The novel is called Marriage of Opposites. You can learn a great deal about the Jewish community at that time. This novel focuses on the life of the most famous family in the history of our congregation. That family is the Pissarro family. This is the St. Thomas in a landscape scene painted by Camille Pissarro, the founder of French Impressionism, who was born and grew up on St. Thomas, left as a teenager, in many ways never looked back, but these early scenes and his early paintings influenced him a great deal. Our present building was dedicated in 1833. And that makes it the oldest synagogue building in continuous use. The Newport building is older, but has not been in continuous use as a synagogue. The Philadelphia congregation is older, but has changed buildings. 3 items were saved from the fire in 1831 and brought back during the ceremonial dedication of the new building in 1833. The Ner Tamid, which I hope you can see that it's not blocked by my, my crossbar on top, the eternal light, and the 2 scrolls on the far right. Now, if you look carefully, you can see that most of our scrolls have wood on the bottom, as do most Ashkenazi Torah scrolls. And in the center is a Sephardic scroll, similar to the one we saw in the Indonesia congregation, although ironically, we obtained that scroll after we had become part of the American Reform movement, and the majority of our congregation was then, at that time, Ashkenazi. Preserving some of our Sephardic rites and roots, but generally shifting over. So that Sephardic scroll does not go back to the Sephardic period here. But if you look carefully, you can see that the scrolls on the far right have not wood, but silver, not just on them, but they are the eitzim are made of silver. Both of those scrolls go back to the late 1600s. The one that is the second to the far right is one of the best handwriting of a scroll I have ever seen. It is a kosher scroll, and we use that for the many destination B'nai Mitzvah that we have, or before the hurricanes and the pandemic we had in our congregation, up to 40 B'nai Mitzvah of people visiting from all over the world. For part of our history, the exterior walls featured a construction style which matched much of the rest of the island, and here I have a color picture of those walls. And here's the interior of the synagogue at one time. But a renovation in the late 1990s, which many of the people who are from my congregation who are on this, participating with us this morning, helped organize, brightened and restored this to a partial, what might have been an earlier look, but brightened the walls considerably without changing the basic interior. You can see them much brighter, and I'll speak more about the interior in a second. This is an exterior shot of the entrance to the synagogue. And here we are at the interior, and I am going to speak about some of the features briefly. The ark is from 1833 and is original. The reading podium is not in the center, but at the far end, but still the Sephardic style of a separate reading podium away from, not right directly in front of the Aron Kodesh, as is the case in many Ashkenazi synagogues. The central square feature has us facing each other. You can see the sand on the floor here in the center. The benches are original to 1833. The reader's podium is original to 1833. The cushions here have been replaced since then several times, and the sand is actually freshwater sand, because saltwater sand would lead to deterioration of the floor underneath, but is also replaced every year or so. The oldest object in the building is not the speaker here, but the menorah behind us. It is said it is not a Hanukkah menorah, of course. It is a 7-branch menorah. And it is said that it's a gift from the Paiwansky family. It is said that it's from the year 1100. Our custodian, who has been at the synagogue for over 20 years, told me at one point, though, look, we don't have the receipt. So I'm not sure I would stake my life on that being from the year 1100, but it's old, that menorah. And also you can see something else, the crystal. I will return to that shortly. Actually, this is a picture of the electric lights are off here. This is only the candles. Actually, that's not true. Some of the electric lights are on. But several times during the year, including Kol Nidre, we light all the candles and use only that light. The crystal chandelier here is Baccarat crystal imported from France very early on. You can imagine the boats going back and forth over the Atlantic, some of them bringing members of the Pissarro family and some of them importing this crystal. Although we are a Sephardic synagogue, therefore, we do not, because of the crystal, we do not have the Sephardic custom of ululating or of throwing candy at a wedding or an ufruf or at a bar or bat mitzvah, because with irreplaceable crystal, we're not going to throw things in the building. You can do so at your celebration if you would like. Here is a shot of the kosher scroll, the one that is the oldest of the scrolls. The others are quite old also. They're fascinating stories behind them. I don't actually know all of the stories as well as I should, but here you can see from the reading podium moving on and surrounding the and the wood in the background is an Elijah's chair, which goes out to if there's a bris on island that has traveled to the home, and we've used it at a naming service in the synagogue. Here is a quick picture of what we did in preparation for hurricanes Irma and Maria in wrapping the scrolls. And in fact, the ark did get wet at one point, just a tropical storm after Maria. That's a story for another time as well. If we often do get a minyan. If we don't, we could count the iguana. Remember that we are now a Reform synagogue, so we would count the iguana whether it is male or female. But that's not actually the largest iguana that hangs out, but just a greeting. It has been really sad to be closed during the pandemic in physical ways, but we are reopening for visits by appointments. And I want to point out our function as a place of pride, a place of community, a place of harmony, a place of coming together. This is a picture from a couple of years ago, the last occasion at which we had our annual Martin Luther King service. That's actually the Lieutenant Governor and our Congresswoman here. He was our speaker that night. She was another time. There are several of the Virgin Islands senators. I see 4 of 5 of the senators, of the 14 senators in this picture. And here is a picture of the synagogue at the Martin Luther King service with our student cantor and our cantorial soloist from just a few years ago. And we look forward to this again. But this is not just for our island community. This is also for you. Please visit us, feel this special place for yourselves, experience history, and make our story part of yours. So I will now try to figure out how to stop my screen share and go back to any questions that we have. And
with your permission, I'm going to save the questions for the end, since you are in close proximity to each other, if that's okay. I want to make sure that I just wanted to allow, because it's 10 o'clock at night, I wanted to allow Yaakov to go where he needs to go in case he needs to leave. We'd love to have him stay, but you're okay. You're in the morning. So with your permission, I'm going to go over to Dominican Republic.
please.
Okay, moving right a little bit further west. So thank you for that geography. I want to introduce somebody who has been here before, and we're very happy to have him join. Again, he has an amazing voice and he is an amazing musician, in addition to being to having his doctorate and to being a chacham and just many other things going on in his life. So we are very, very proud to have him back here. He comes from, and this time we haven't heard about his synagogue actually. He comes from a long line of Sephardic families from Spain, Portugal, and North Africa, who established themselves in the Caribbean. He's trained as a Chacham, Shochet, and Mohel. The Sephardic community in La Romana, Dominican Republic was established in 2013. Today, there are over 50 families that gather there. The synagogue was established in 2017 in its current location, which we're going to see soon. Members from the community built the Heichal, Teba, and a wooden menorah for Hanukkah. And I want everybody to look at it and kind of see a theme between all three synagogues around the world. So we're all going to turn off our cameras again, and we will hand it over to Chacham Yonatan.
Beruchim habayim, bienvenidos, bem-vindos. I'm going to begin with a presentation, and before that, I would like to thank the American Sephardi Federation for this invitation. This opportunity is a great honor for myself and the entire community, which is watching this now. And with further ado, we will continue with the presentation. The Nacao in the Dominican Republic. So this is a short history on the presence of the Sephardic Jews, the Nacao, as we use in Portuguese. There have been various migrations of Caribbean Sephardim to Hispaniola, which is was the name during the time of the Spanish occupation on the island. Here in this map, you can see various islands in the region. So we see where the Dominican Republic shares the island with Haiti. And what we're going to see here is various migrations of Jews from other surrounding islands, including St. Thomas, Curacao, Jamaica, St. Eustatius, and also from Venezuela and Colombia. These parts, so this is a map of the Dominican Republic, and you can see in red, these are the cities where the Spanish Portuguese Jews established themselves. They never established a fixed synagogue, but they established enclaves where they were trading, and they would pray in homes. So in the furthest north, you see Montecristi, Puerto Plata, Santiago in the center, north, and then in the south, Asua, Bani, Santo Domingo, which is the capital today. And here are some of the families. I hope you can see this. Let me see if I can move this from here. 1 second. There we go. So here are the families, some of the families that arrived at the time, just so that you can see. And these families are still, many of the descendants are still in the congregations today. So they came from Portugal, from Spain, from the Netherlands, and many other places in the Caribbean as well. And here are some pictures from tombstones that I took in 2011, I believe. Yes, 2011. And the oldest one, Jaco Pardo, he was born in Amsterdam, and he died at the age of 45 years old in the year 1826. And these tombstones come from Santo Domingo. There's a cemetery there, and in the old city of Ciudad Trujillo. And as you can see, this Jaco Pardo, this tombstone is in French, and that's because from 1822 to 1844, the entire island was under French occupation. So that's why that's in French. Moving along, Rafael Namias de Castro, or Castro, Jacobo Curiel, Julia de Curiel, Moises de Castro as well, Rebecca Namias. Most of these families came from Curacao, that you can see here. Guillermo da Costa Gomez, this is one of the Kohanim families from Curacao. On those tombstones, they have the raised hands, which denotes that they were from the Aaronic family. Josefa Levi, Hipólito Pereira de Curiel. And an interesting note is that one of the descendants of these Spanish Portuguese Jews actually became a president, Francisco Enriquez y Carvajal. He married Salome Ureña. They had their 4 children, Pedro, Francisco, Max, and Camila. And at the end of around the turn of the 20th century, so the end of 19th century and the beginning of the 20th century, there was a Chacham Rafael Namias Castro, or Crasto. He came from Curacao, and he established Congregación Israelita, so Israelite congregation in Santo Domingo. And he served as cantor and performed marriages. And also a mohel used to visit quite often, coming from Curacao as well. In 1939, during the time of the Shoah, so World War II, a Ashkenazi rabbi by the name of Henry Tzvi Uko, he established himself from Germany. He went to Amsterdam and then established himself in the Dominican Republic, where he organized a congregation in Ciudad Trujillo, that's the way it was known then, after the dictator, which is nowadays Santo Domingo, the capital. And he began researching the history of the Jews therein, and he organized this Sephardic community. He was leading them until the year 1946. Here's a picture of the Sidur that this community was using at the time. As you can see, it's by Isaac Lezer. And this is a letter in Spanish by that was this Sidur, the book that I just mentioned before. It says, "Este es el libro de oraciones." This is the book of prayers that my father Samuel Curiel dedicated with much love to his friend Henry Tzvi Uko, signed by Rebecca Viuda Salas Bais. So just a note. In 2009, I arrived to the Dominican Republic from the United States, and I organized or reorganized this community, which were for over 2 generations. There was no rabbinic establishment or leadership, and after traveling there after a number of years, I then realized that they needed leadership, so I offered to go there. On the right side, I have a picture there. That was the first shechita that I performed when I was there. And this is a picture of our Bet Midrash in Santo Domingo in 2010. We would pray every day, and on Sundays, we would study almost the whole day. So this picture was taken on a Sunday. And La Romana, which is, if we go back to the map, La Romana is on the east side of the island. This is our minyan. This is in 2013. Right in the center of this picture is Rebi Gadiel, who is the director of the La Romana Minyan, Rebi Gadiel Mota. And so here on this map, we can see where La Romana is. This is the Berit Milah in 2014 of my son. And on the side here is Chacham Abraham Biton, who came from Miami. And Bet Midrash El Azar, which is the name of our congregation, is a Sephardi educational center in the Caribbean that teaches according to the old Andalusian tradition. This is our website. And this is what it looks like. I'm going to show right after this so you can see more in real time. So this is the entrance. And these are 2 members who worked on the construction of the Teba. This is what it looks like when it was finished. This book, the bookshelf, was also constructed by hand and by 2 of our members. Let's see here, the bookshelf was made by by Cabrera. And the Teba was made by Yohanan de Yosef, who was assisted by Gamaliel de Ribigadiel and Levi de Benjamin, and Ribigadiel as well. They all worked on the construction of the Teba. This is a picture of my, I would say, my star students, who are the most avid learners in the community. And you can see Ribigadiel, who is on the right side of me, and two of his sons and a cousin. This is our website. So if you want to,
What?
Nationalist, white supremacist, however you want to describe it.
and I will show now a video, so just so that you can see in real time what that looks, what the community looks like. This Hanukkah was also made by one of our members. The Echal that we have was also was donated by Margarita Bressan, and the Echal was remodeled or refurbished. Our Sefer Torah was donated by Kulanu in the year 2013. And this is the Teba from the backside. And currently, we do not own this building. This is, we rent the space, and we hope in the near future to be able to purchase our own building and have a permanent space for our prayers and learning. We have currently about 80 members, and those members include born Jews, also Zera Israel, and people who want to do Giur. They have no connection to the Jewish people, but they want to learn. So there are about 80 members in total. And we hope to, during this pandemic time, we have not been praying in this building for over a year. And amazingly, more people have been interested to join our congregation and community during this time. Here are some of our books, Humashim, and we use for prayer the Solapul Spanish Portuguese Sidur that's used in New York at Shearit Israel. Many of our books have been donated from different people in the United States, also from Midrash Sephardi in Jerusalem, and other donors out of Miami. This is a brief presentation of our historical community and also of our current synagogue space. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Again, it's amazing to me how we can come together from all these different places and still share a very strong tradition and a very strong history. So what I'm going to do now is there are 2 questions in the Q&A. If our presenters want to take a look over there while I open up, so anybody can open in a few minutes, you'll be able to open your microphones or your cameras for questions. If you have a question, please do raise your hand, just because it'll get too confusing otherwise. Either raise it in person or there. So I think the question must be to Rabbi Feshbach, but if anybody else has it, do we know the existence of trials from the Inquisition regarding people in St. Thomas?
Formed as a community after that period. So I don't, the sand floor there are 5 synagogues in the world with sand on the floor. Those come from the 1790s and early 1800s. It was a historical memory of the of 300 years earlier, going back to the 1490s and 1500s. So that historical memory, or we don't even have the direct evidence of the sand on the floor from Spain in quite as direct a way, but it remained vivid in the memory of their Sephardic descendants, and so this is the reason for the sand on the floor. It's the most frequently asked question we get. It does relate to the Spanish Inquisition, but only as a memory, and the sand on the floor is not meant as a useful distraction for kids, although it functions that way, or as a reminder of the promise to Abraham that we would be as numerous as the stars on the sky, or the sand on the shores of the sea, although it echoes that, and that wandering in the wilderness as well. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for answering.
Thank you. I know there was a question here about Christopher Columbus, but as this is the opening of our Spanish-Portuguese 2 weeks, I'm not sure if it wouldn't be a better question asked in a further one, as we're really focusing now on these 3 communities. So I did want to mention that.
Well, Columbus did have a landing in the Virgin Islands. A 10-second answer. There's a great book by Simon Wiesenthal called Sails of Hope, which explored the theory that Columbus was Jewish. I don't actually buy it, but he sailed on the day. He sailed on Tisha B'Av on the day that the Edict of Expulsion went into effect, and there were for sure Jews and hidden Jews who sailed with him.
I think I missed some. I know Shep had a question, but I don't see Shep. Oh,
yeah. Hi. Oh, hold on. Yeah. Hi. So I have a question for Rabbi Fishbach from the Virgin Islands. Former rabbinical intern at my synagogue. I believe she relocated to the Virgin Islands. Do you know her, Georgette Kidderbray? Or am I mistaken?
I would love to have somebody here with that background. So no. I ask, tell me the name or put it in the chat. I saw it earlier. I was not familiar with it, but I asked any of my my island congregants who are on with us to identify it, and please send me her information if this is correct.
I will. And
I will use her immediately.
Yonatan, I have a question. A few years ago, I went to Dominican Republic and I went to Sosua. Are you involved with that community or what's left of it? Hello?
No, are you frozen? I think he's frozen.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Did you hear the question, Jonathan? Oh, he just asked if you had a connection to the Sosua congregation, but you're on mute now.
Or what's left of it?
No, you're still on mute.
They have a small synagogue and a museum. It was very interesting.
In Sosua, yes.
Yes, Sosua.
There's no active community or anything going on there right now. There's one family, the Katz family, who runs or protects the synagogue and museum, but there's no active Jewish life there anymore.
I met them. They're Messianic Jews also. That's the
right.
other part. That's the other part. The museum is nice, the synagogue is nice, but there's Ein Yehudim.
Ma lasot.
Toda rabah.
So, there were questions about virtual services, and I know that 1 minute we have 2 other things first.
Hello.
Yes. One moment, please. Sorry, just wait 1 moment. So we did have questions about virtual services, and I see that Rabbi Feshbach put it in the chat, and so did Yaakov. I just want to point out that he's not actually in the synagogue. That's a really good background. And that's how they do the services. So I just thought that was interesting. Another thing I was asked to share by Yaakov Baruch. I'm going to do that now, and then I will take a few more questions with everyone's permission. But he just sent me these and asked me to share them. If you want to say something about them, Yaakov.
This is the chuppah for our community, that the new communities came after they make the conversion. So we do the chuppah for them. And this is some pictures from the event. We do the according to the Spanish and Portuguese tradition. And this is the Iraqi community, Sephardic, Iraqi, and Dutch Jewish community that exists before the Second World War. Now all these, they are grandchildren. They are 100% Halakhic Jewish. I make the Seder. This is about 10 or 11 years ago in Jakarta. It takes before the holidays, before the Yom Tov, when we just start the candle and some congregation take pictures, and you can see the mix between the Iraqi and the Dutch Jews. And the first one is the new community. This is also the Iraqi and the Dutch Jewish community. Next to me in the black and white is my grandmother. Next to me in the right side is Mrs. Miriam Elias from Dutch community, that's Jewish. And the two guys is from the Iraqi, it's David Masri and David Abraham Sichon Libracha. He passed away already, and this is some pictures also during the Purim. We do it in Jakarta about 7 years or 8 years ago. So this is my activity when I travel to Jakarta, because the synagogue is in my island. We're doing this in the hotel for safety reason. Yeah, I think just few pictures I want to share to see the face of the Jewish community of Indonesia. Thank you.
And if whoever mentioned the book at the beginning of the lecture, if you could just put it into the chat. And somebody here had a question. I think it was Peggy. Did you have a question?
Well, I was going to ask Rabbi Fishbach about whether you're still going virtual, but it sounds like you are. Any idea when you might reopen your doors, or when you're going to get cruise ships back to St. Thomas?
Cruise ships, I don't know. To any of you who are not vaccinated, please get vaccinated as soon as possible. To any of you who are having trouble getting the vaccine, I can give you the phone number and the website. On the Virgin Islands, we're the only territory under the US flag that does not have a residency requirement. We have excess vaccines here because of vaccine resistance on the island. So please take your test and then come join us on the Virgin Islands and get vaccinated here if you're having trouble elsewhere. We have been streaming services since March of 2020. They're available on our YouTube website in archive. You're welcome to join us any Friday night at 6:30 is usually the time. On April 30th, we're going to attempt a barbecue for Lag BaOmer, even though Lag BaOmer is during the day on April 30th. But we'll stream at least the opening prayers. Erev Shavuot, we are going back into the synagogue for a brief use of the Sephardic Torah, where we will gather around the Sephardic Torah, standing, masked, and reading the Ten Commandments, and we will try to Zoom that. We have ordered equipment to professionally Zoom and stream services in the future. Peg, as you know well, it was easy at Temple Shalom to set up a camera because the ark is here, the bima is here, so you set the camera up here. Look at these Sephardic synagogues, all three of them, Yaakov Baruch and Chacham Elazar, every one of them. You have a the Aron Kodesh is here, the reading table is here. Where are you going to put the camera? You have to have you can't just hit it right. So the physical setup of the Sephardic services make it a little more challenging for the streaming, but we will be streaming in one form or another in the very near future. We anticipate going back, easing in June, and hopefully full-time back in person with masks and distancing in July. But inshallah, as our Muslim friends would say, and that's barring any, large fourth wave or setbacks.
Okay.
Thank you for
Genia?
asking.
Yeah,
Genia?
hello. Yeah, I have a question for Jonathan. Hi, I was wondering if you had any kind of relationship or collaboration with the very well-established Centro Israelita in Santo Domingo, in the capital city, which is Ashkenazi and has been established for a very long time. It has a long history of ongoing services and to the community there. Do you participate together?
No, you're on mute.
Not really. When I used to live in the capital, I used to visit sometimes the Centro Israelita. But as you said, they follow the Ashkenazi rite, and it's more of a conservative or reform community. And I'm told by older members of a group enclave that was in Santo Domingo before the synagogue was established in the 1940s. I've been told that they didn't like so much that the Polacos or the Alemanes came and took over, meaning the Polish and the German. So
You froze. You froze.
One moment. We'll give him a minute. Hopefully it'll come right back. It's on his end.
Because I missed who said something like that over there. Where did that statement come from? Who did that statement come from?
Now, again, you have to unmute. Each time you go out, you have to go on mute.
That statement came from one of the members who's in his 80s right now. And I was told this by this person and others as well. And today we don't really have any contact with Centro Israelita because the La Romana community is all the way in the east. The only time when we really have some type of collaboration is when there are the events with the Israeli consulate. So then all of the different communities which are affiliated with any Jewish tradition get together for these yearly meetings.
Mm-hmm.
Elaine? No, you're on mute. Elaine, you're on mute.
Yes. Thank you. I've got a question for Jonathan right now. I know it's quite the same question as I did. I asked to Rabbi Fenbach just before concerning the Inquisition. I know that we have just few trials concerning Dominican Republic and the Inquisition. Nevertheless, that's very interesting to discover that food in Dominican Republic have a relation with the Spanish and Portuguese heritage. And mainly in my book, Sephardi Cooking the History, I recreated a dish which is candied eggplant with cinnamon and sugar. And that's very interesting because this recipe of candied eggplant is mentioned in trials from Spain and is also in the culinary heritage of Dominican Republic.
Very interesting.
Yes.
I didn't catch the question though.
Oh, my question is, yes, my question is, do do you know more about the candied eggplant? Is it a dish usually consumed nowadays by people in Dominican Republic? I mean, Jewish and non-Jewish people, or?
Eggplant for sure. Berenjena, as we call it, is and made in different ways. It's definitely a dish that Dominicans, both Jews and non-Jews, are consuming for sure. So especially after the Turcos, which are this general term for all the Ottoman Empire exiles that came to the Dominican Republic, they also brought a lot of these dishes as well with the eggplant. So it may be because of this migration and not from before.
Yes, I have been talking with, I've got different friends that are from Dominican Republic. And when I told her about this candied eggplant made with cinnamon and honey and sugar, they told me that it was so amazing because in Dominican Republic, they used to consume this dish. So that's why I decided to put it in my cookbook, Sephardi Cooking the History.
Great.
What is your cookbook called?
Yeah, Helene, if you can just put it into the in the chat, the name of your, and if you have a link to it. But you can also see her at the American Sephardi Federation. She gives regular talks and regular demonstrations. So I do invite you to that.
Thank you. Thank you, Jonathan.
You're welcome.
I think there was one more thing here, sorry. Oh, I wanted to ask a question to Jonathan and to Yaakov. Is he still here?
Yes.
I don't see him. Oh, there you are. Because, we had talked about the sand on the floors, and I noticed neither one of you have sand on the floor, although the original, that snow god, does. So is there a reason that you didn't keep the tradition, or?
Well, in our case, it's not practical to do that because we rent the space, so we can't do that. But possibly in the future, we could do that.
Yeah, I think, same thing. I was thinking before to using sand as well to make unique and have a special connection with our heritage, but I'm not sure now is the right time to do it, but let's see in the future.
Our custodian, I could make him available. He's been there for 20 years. I could make him available for consultation.
All right.
Sharon, you had a question?
Can I? Yes. I don't know if anybody read in my comment. I'm calling from Toronto, Canada. And my family had a cruise ship, and we were on a cruise, and went to St. Thomas, and we were looking for the synagogue, and we walked there and we found it, and it was gated up and locked up. And then we heard someone say, can I help you, or hello, and the custodian, whose name I don't know, but it must be the one you're talking about, who's been there for so many years. He was amazing. He took us everywhere. There was just a bar mitzvah that had been there that day. I think we were there in the afternoon, and everybody was already gone, but he showed us around. He told us history. He was incredible. So I really give a lot of, we really appreciate it. I had young kids at the time, and we were all taken around and treated very, very nicely and shown around. And he was just amazing. So I just wanted to put it out there because he didn't have to do that.
So glad to hear it. Thank you.
And I'm sorry I didn't meet you. Thank you.
Simon, you had a question?
Oh, I had a question for Yaakov, but he responded to my question already in the chat. So thank you.
Okay, well then I am going to say thank you very much to each of our presenters. I do want to let everyone know that this is the first in our series. We're very excited to have 2 weeks of the Global Nacao, and hopefully next year, God willing, in person in New York, we'll have the full conference. But we do invite you to come see the rest of ours and the rest of our programming that's around. We actually have an Egyptian cafe coming up too, virtual cafe, because we're all virtual now. I do encourage you to send questions. You'll get a follow-up email tomorrow. So if Rabbi Feshbach or Chacham Yonatan or Yaakov want to add anything, any email addresses or any questions that came up that you want me to send to everybody, I will be sending a follow-up email tomorrow. And you'll see my email there as well. So if you have any questions for anything about the Institute of Jewish Experience. Thank you all. I hope to see all of you back. Many of the, especially Chacham Yonatan and Yaakov and Rabbi Feshbach, I think that this was wonderful and we're getting some wonderful comments as well. And I encourage you all to continue exploring the Jewish experience. So have a wonderful week. Shabbat Tov. And we'll see you hopefully soon.
Oh, thank you very much.
Bye.
Shalom for you.
Nice to meet everyone.
It was. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.